Welcome to the number one
Keep it in.
Bengals
That was the best intro ever.
podcast.
Y'all didn't
Yeah.
work for how many months and no one could add me to the video?
We were doing a lot of work, actually. I was doing a lot of work, not this show, a different kind of work, if
Yeah.
you will.
Yeah.
And I was working the books, making sure they're clean.
I believe it's called cooking
but-
the books. Yeah.
Right. And Bridget, yes,
Give you 3
we
Michelin
need to get
stars
Bridget
for how
in the
quickly you
yeah.
got out of whatever location you were in to whatever location you happen to be in.
Yeah, I figured you'd be in a certain location today. Of all days, it's interesting how you kind of reappeared. Or do you want to confess maybe something on this
Yeah.
day of all days? Maybe.
No, I do not. But, Bridget mentioned that she was not in the introduction to the show, and that is true.
Yeah.
And so we want to add her. So if you have ideas of what she should be doing in the video instruction, leave them in the comments. And then after you do that, subscribe. And then
so
give a
basically
thumbs
you're letting
up
you're
and
letting people
notification.
vote on what they can make Bridget do. I don't know if I
Exactly.
like that.
I have first
Well-
right of refusal on this. I'm not worried about it.
Well,
Let's have
there
a
is also-
generative
Bridget, there
comment
also is
discussion.
democracy. Don't forget that.
Right. And John,
Thaddeus'
obviously,
favorite thing.
we have a very special guest today, John Sheeran, who is actually a reporter for Atoz or Atuz Sports.
Yes, those sports.
He is.
They count
yes.
all the toes. You got to have all the toes
Yes.
to play in the sports they cover. All
I think the Z is silent. Actually, it's just A to Z. It is a sports.
oh, A to
Yes.
Z.
Yeah, it kind of rolls off the
So-
tongue like that.
That makes more sense than a toes.
I will say this, John. It is always great when I see people move on to greater and bigger internships. Very proud of you.
Yeah. Till we go into the
And
great
I
big
hope-
internship in the sky.
I mean, when they offered like super senior intern, like I didn't even know there was a position. But like, how do you turn that down? You know,
Yes.
like maybe there's a super supreme intern. Maybe that's on the horizon, but we'll see.
Comes with guac.
Right. So we have very special, interesting development in the Cincinnati
So many
Bengals, which is they
developments. Why
decided
a special?
so many developments.
First of all, you
yeah.
got Orlando Brown.
Well, as
He's in town.
John of Atos Sports wrote, Orlando Brown is a groundbreaking signing for the Cincinnati Bengals in more way than one. Not only did they pay an offensive lineman, John,
Yeah.
right? They guaranteed his money,
Yeah.
right?
He's
And
coming to us from the
John,
Chiefs,
tell them.
and those guys can win.
Yeah, that article is
Well-
actually a little outdated now because what was originally reported about Brown was that there was about 40-ish million guaranteed in his contract over the course of 4 years, and the signing bonus is true. Like he did get the largest signing bonus that an offensive lineman has ever been given in the history of NFL free agency. But originally, as it was reported, it seemed like the first 2 years his base salaries were also guaranteed, which had never been done before in Bengals history. That part is not particularly true. And overall, the contract pays him about as the 17th best offensive tackle in the NFL, which is exactly what he is. So it's not the contract that Orlando Brown expected to get. It's not the contract that I think the Bengals expected Orlando Brown to eventually sign in this free agency. But just in terms of the realm of what we know the Bengals to be, it's still a huge, huge monumental move for them. Like this market only existed because Orlando Brown wanted to be a left tackle, and no team really
Yeah.
gifted him that opportunity. But it's still the largest free agent contract for a team that for a player that the Bengals did not draft that they've ever given out in an offensive line, man. Like they never
Yeah.
give out this type of money
Yeah.
to this position group.
They've learned.
Well, they
And
didn't.
John,
Yeah.
follow-up question, John. What is your analysis of Orlando long arms Brown versus, let's say, a Jonah T-Rex Jonah?
I would I think I can confirm this. I can confirm this because I've spoken to him already. He is definitely a sweetie pie. I would give him at least a 9.5 out of 10 on the sweetie pie scale. And I think that'll definitely help him in the meetings, in the locker room, kind of gel with the guys. But on the field, he's not so much of a sweetie pie. He's a menace, man. Look at him. He's freaking huge. It's hard to go around him. It's hard to go through him. It's just hard to beat him in general. Now, obviously, him being the size of a woolly mammoth, he doesn't have the greatest kick slide speed, doesn't have the greatest athleticism in general, and sometimes guys can time their rushes to kind of bend around the edge a little bit to beat him. But over against Jonah Williams, I think everyone can agree that he's an overall better player. He can lean on just his physical frame in ways that Jonah Williams could not at left tackle, and that gives him a larger, margin of error. And sometimes maybe his technique is not perfect, but it doesn't matter because again, he's the size of the Grand Canyon, right? It's just hard to just
Big
avoid
boy.
him,
And Jonah was miffed, wasn't he? He was a little miffed.
Well,
that was the rumor.
Here's the thing.
He's a miffed, Jonah.
A lot of people have been piling on Jonah Williams because he gave up on the team, and he showed that he doesn't have any heart. But I personally will not allow anybody to speak ill of any Bengals player, past or present or future.
Wait a minute.
Ever.
That includes Carson Palmer?
That includes Jeremy Hill, Carlos Dunlap, right.
Wait, so you're not going to talk any more bad stuff, trash about Carson Palmer? Carson Palmer is finally a friend of
Carson,
the show?
no, Carson. I said football player, Bengals player. He wasn't a player. He came in, he pranced around, he complained he got injured, and then he just cried. He didn't actually play by football standards.
Yeah.
But I still have a lot of respect for Carson Palmer. I say that with the utmost respect.
Oh, okay. I'm surprised to hear that because you've always kind of had the thing against poor Carson Palmer.
Yeah. No, I mean in the way that you pay respect to the dead because he's dead to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a lot of respect for him. Yeah, he's very dead to me. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds
So-
good.
But
John, does Jonah play this coming season? Does he play at a different position? Do you think the trade's going to materialize? It doesn't feel like it is.
Yeah, let's talk about this because
Let's talk about
Jonah,
the trade. It's important.
he's been here for 4 years, right? And he hasn't been the best. A lot of people use his draft status against him. He was the 11th overall pick. I think at the end of the day, right now, when fully healthy, he's a league average tackle, right? He deserves to start somewhere in the NFL. He's good enough to last an entire season as a starter. The Bengals certainly agreed with that. They want him to continue starting at another position. But he has always maintained that I want to be a left tackle in the same vein that Orlando Brown has always maintained that status too. And again, because of that, the Bengals were awarded the opportunity to pursue him and to get him on a bargain deal. So it's totally fine for Jonah to believe that and have that as his prerogative. On top of the fact that the Bengals sought an upgrade over him and decided to do that because it's in their right. They're a team. They're looking to upgrade the offensive line, and they figured that he could make the move to right tackle. Jonah doesn't want to do that. Now, Jonah doesn't have a lot of leverage in this situation because he only has 1 year left on his deal, and he needs to play just so he can enter free agency next year. Unfortunately, there is the risk of changing positions and then maybe not playing your best before entering the free agency market. So it does seem like the best for both sides here is for the Bengals to land a right tackle of the future in the draft and then trade Jonah Williams to a place where he can play left tackle and he can go into the open market next year and get the deal that he wants. But I just don't know if that's going to happen.
well,
And so if we keep him-
speaking of, yeah,
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, speaking of trades, John, we have just heard that Chase Young is not going to get the 5th-year deal. That they always do the 5th-year deal, and he's not going to get that from the Washingtons.
No, the
And we
Commandos.
know
The
that-
Commandos do not want. He has no command.
Yes, yeah, can
Cannot
never go
commando.
commando.
No.
Yeah, but a lot of Bengals fans love Chase Young.
Yeah.
And
I do.
he's Ohio State. Yeah, wasn't I don't know, but they really want him,
Yeah, I
and a lot of them wanted him over Burrow. So I don't know. You and I were chatting. You say no way it happens. I say you throw. I don't know if they have any tackles. I'm assuming they don't, because they're kind of bad at everything. But you throw Jonah Williams their way and attach a mid-round pick. That's what I would do.
I would love it, obviously, if you could do straight up Jonah Williams or Chase Young. I don't think anyone wearing Bengals colors would disagree with that. From Washington's standpoint, though, like again, he was like right behind Burrow just 3 years ago, and he was like 21 when he was drafted. So he's 23, 24 years old. And obviously, injuries have been a great factor in as to why Washington maybe doesn't want to commit to him long term. And I think it's smart to just see what the trade market is for him. But I just look at what he was in college, the fact that wasn't even that long ago, and when he has played in the NFL, he has been good. It's just like he hasn't been able to stay healthy. So I feel like some team is going to take a swing on him and offer something that the Bengals are probably not going to be able to compete with, even if they include Jonah Williams in the trade.
Now,
Okay.
Let's go back
Yeah.
to the scenario where Jonah Williams stays. Who
Right.
remind me, who is he replacing at right tackle?
That's a good question. So Lyle Collins was supposed to be the right tackle.
Yeah.
He wasn't healthy.
No,
he
and-
tore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
He tore. I don't know what he tore. What ligaments, John, in his knee.
He
And
did.
I don't.
It was at least ACL. Was it ACL
At
and
least.
MCL?
It
Yeah.
was. It was as John says the Atos CL. It was all the ACLs from A to Z.
Yeah.
And he now they're not counting on him to be a starter.
Well,
And
they can't.
they had to.
They cannot.
They can't.
I mean, August is not that far away. Why can't they?
Yeah.
It's like
I don't
Like,
think they want to. Let's be
it's
honest. I
weird
don't think they
because
want to. I think
no,
they've
because
given-
Trey Hopkins tore his ACL like 2 years ago in January, and then it somehow miraculously started the season like 9 months later.
Yeah.
And he was also 30 years old, and he also had a history of injuries. And he wasn't right for like the first 8 weeks of the season. People kind of ragged on him, even though he miraculously came back from injury. The fact that Lael has this chronic injury history, specifically with his back, which only complicates things in his recovery, I just don't think that you can rely on him at all this year, especially with his age. Like, I don't think they're going into the season expecting him to play. And even if he does play, I don't think he's going to be much better than last year. And he wasn't very good last year anyways.
Yeah, he's gonna
Yeah.
have to do
And you
whatever
can't
Carson
go with the
Palmer
Kima
was doing
Denergy.
instead of
Yeah.
playing.
No.
I mean, do they cut him? Is there a world where Collins gets cut?
I don't think
They're
they're going to
paying him a
be
lot.
that desperate for space. I feel like they want to just, let him rest on like IR, and then they won't have to pay him that much anyways because a lot of his contract is per game roster bonuses. So I don't think they cut him, but if they end up in a situation where they extend Burrow and Higgins and they need space, maybe it gets to that point.
Yeah.
Wow. And
Well, I
then-
mean,
and
we
then
can't
if
go
don't
with-
keep Jonah Williams. Then we have to think
If-
of someone
if-
else for the right tackle.
Well, we're going to have to get someone in the draft, or maybe
mean-
John, you get a Riley
John-
Reef to
John, if-
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
if
this
I
this
may-
is why
yeah.
like the Bengals have all the leverage here because they're not getting rid of Jonah
Yeah.
unless they find that replacement in the draft.
Right.
They don't have to.
Now,
They don't have to
Let's
move
be
him at all.
honest, John.
because
If Jonah Williams doesn't play, okay, if he's like, I'm not going to play, the Bengals are like, I'm not going to trade you for a 6th rounder. And by the way, I don't think anybody would trade a late round pick for a guy making $12 million. Either you think he's worth $12 million and you give up a decent pick, or you don't trade for him. You wait for him to, right? So what I think, John,
Wait
I
for
think
the fruit.
Jonah,
to follow
yeah.
the tree. Go ahead.
Well, unfortunately, Jonah cannot pick the fruit off the tree with those
Not free
arms.
fall, no,
But
that's true.
yeah, he would. Yeah, he has to wait for it to fall, and that's what they're doing, waiting for him to fall like a overly ripe fruit. But he's not overly ripe. He's only 25 years old. Yeah,
He's a young man.
and yeah. Well, I don't even know if you could say peach because he's not that strong. He doesn't
Fig.
have the curvature that you want.
fig.
Yes, in a O lineman, right?
Agreed.
Maybe a fig. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, but
John, the
yeah.
point is this: is that he can't afford
No.
to sit out the season, and I'm not talking about money. I'm saying he goes into 2020, what 4, 5? I don't know what next year is. Off season, sitting
gotta
out a
get the
year,
hemorrhoid
off of his
cream.
worst year.
He's got to get the fiber.
Right.
He's got to get the
Insist- Yeah, insisting that he's a left tackle when he had a bad year at left tackle. NFL executives say he should move to guard. He's not gonna be top 10 in money just for next year,
He isn't now.
John.
So
The only
here's-
the only reason why like I think a trade might happen is because we saw like the last 2 years, and everyone can attest to this. Like we knew Jesse Bates was upset about not getting the deal, and he sat out in the offseason, but it never got to the point where he requested the trade. Like these things happen kind of behind the scenes a lot more than we realize, but rarely does it ever go public, and rarely does the player take the initiative to reach out to his agent, and then his agent does a lot of lip service about, oh, we're getting offers here, and the Bengals aren't really doing anything. This has progressed already in like just a couple weeks faster than I think a lot of these things have happened in the past, especially with the Bengals. But the Bengals don't typically deal away these players unless they kind of give them no choice. But I don't think Jonah Williams is going to go scorched earth and burn these bridges, right? Like not like what Eli Apple did with his past teams, not like what Carlos Dunlap did, putting his house up for sale and leaking the depth chart. I don't think he's going to do that. But I do think there's a scenario where if the Bengals get a good offer and they see a guy that they can replace him with, like that's how that happens. But I just don't know if it happens yet.
But
But
I've
Bridget-
been
yeah.
holding in a comment for a while.
Yeah.
And it's a simple
Uh-oh.
comment.
Release
but an
it.
important-
You'll
but an-
feel better.
But an important, thank you, Bridget, an important comment.
Is this the new approach in the woke HR where anything goes? Because I like that part.
Define. Yeah,
Yeah.
You use that word woke, Daddio, in a way that is clear to all of us. You have no idea what it means.
Well, that
Anything
would
you
be a
don't like,
common
anything
trend.
he doesn't like is woke. He's like, he gave me these batteries, AA batteries the other day. He's like, oh, these don't work. They're woke. No, that's not what it means. So no, but here's the thing. Okay, we haven't talked to each other, the four of us, since the Super Bowl and since the AFC Championship loss. This show shut down. Daddy went to a deep gluten and carb induced rage hibernation, and that's the reality of the show. You know,
He's 270 pounds now.
yeah, he's 200. It doesn't look it, but
The background thins him out a little.
yeah. And so the one thing I want to say about Jonah Williams and the offensive line is, wow, did we learn the hard way that when you lack depth on the offensive line, it's not just about the stars. When you lack depth, then you suffer in the long haul.
Yeah.
During the playoffs. You cannot make it through.
And we still lack
That was
depth.
a loss.
Let's be honest, John.
That was exactly. Even you add Orlando Brown, though, John. Even you
Yeah.
add Orlando Brown, despite the length of his arms, despite the greatness of his charms,
Yeah.
you do not have, what is it? Depth. No.
Well, good thing about Orlando Brown, and I hope we don't jinx him here.
Don't
He's
say
very
it. I
good.
don't even want you to say it.
Orlando Brown, let me just explain. You know how when a tree gets to a certain size, right? No matter the thunderstorm, no matter the
This is a
wind,
big jinx.
it
jinx.
stands
This is gonna
firm.
haunt us
Orlando
all
Brown.
year.
I'm just saying, if you look in terms of physics, if you look in terms of John,
Don't do it.
geography, you
Don't
can
do it.
actually
If you love the
study.
Bengals, don't do this, Daddy.
He
This is Burrowhead.
no, he.
Yeah,
I
know.
don't think he's.
No,
yeah.
hold on. Time out. Thank you,
Yeah.
Bridget. Bridget brought up a really great point. Do our fans and do the Bengals community know that Daddy is single-handedly responsible, and I kid you not, nor do I exaggerate, this is not hyperbole, for the loss against the Chiefs? Do you know that he started the Burrowhead craze? Do you know that? That stupid, ridiculous, sophomoric Burrowhead craze was started by that man. That man you see over there, who should be like his role model, dragged into some sort of federal institution and questioned about his deeds.
Yeah, I mean that actually did happen, and
What,
I
Burrowhead?
had to. Well,
Oh yeah, you were
the-
dragged.
the-
Yeah, I remember. We all know
Yes.
about that. Yeah, that's why you got the
But-
Escobar look going right now.
Look, Mike Hilton took it too far. I never intended for Mike Hilton to be shouting it right before they play them again. You shouted after you play them again. But
No, I disagree with this. Mike Hilton was a player. That is a man on the field. They also I don't even remember if we did a show after the Buffalo Bills playoff game. That was
We
the
did.
most complete, most exciting
It was.
game.
But-
If you're Mike Hilton, this is like the LSU Iowa like college basketball thing. Like, let them do their
no, this is real
smack-talking.
sports. This is a real competitive game. But what I want to say, right?
Oh.
These are the top athletes in the world. But what I want to say is that Chris Jones, John, never had a sack in his postseason career before that game.
Yeah.
He was very upset by the Burrowhead. He went out and had the game of his life. It's not a coincidence.
It is not.
So
And plus the
yeah.
point, John, that don't forget I raised, which was very smart, which I rarely do, of lack of depth of the offensive line. Do not forget that I said that.
So what, like,
do something,
we know
John,
that
about the lack of depth. Yeah.
you're like
Someone
little
put the
mean.
quarter
We're
in John.
poking you with the stick. Do something. I am wondering. So O-line depth is a question. The O-line not only protects the quarterback, they enable us to have a strong run game. So I was in Mexico the week that Bengals Twitter seemed to blow up related to our running back. But what are we thinking with the run game? Is it Mixon? Is Mixon still?
No,
It's
it's
still
not
our
Mixon.
guy?
They've Mixon. No, I don't.
You know,
think-
I'll give an analogy here with Joe Mixon because the kind people at ATOS Sports, when they were asking me about, when they were asking me about my my current employment with the number one Bengals podcast, and I said, I mean, I'm there for now, like, and it's not like it's not a false statement. Like I'm on the show for now, but it doesn't really invoke a lot of confidence, right? You don't really hear that and be like, yeah, this guy is really locked in to this opportunity. And that's what Katie Blackburn kind of said about Joe Mixon. Like, he's here for now. He's here because this is the best opportunity that we have to have a successful running game. He's the best available option for us right now. And I don't think a month ago, when they had plans of bringing back Samaje Perine, that was going to be the case. I feel like they were going to re-sign Samaje Perine, release Joe Mixon, and look into the draft for potentially a Mixon replacement. Perine jettisoned for Denver because he wanted to be closer to his family. The Bengals were kind of left with their hands in their pants and said, we're just going to look to the draft to see if we can find a replacement, an upgrade. If not, then he's here for the season. But I don't think Joe Mixon has done anything in the past year, specifically in the past few months, to really solidify his job status here.
John,
I am gonna miss.
Let's say,
I'm a big Joe.
Yeah,
Mixon fan.
he's very
You've been
good to the
following him.
fans.
He's been on the team for so long. The man has energy.
But I've never
And
seen a man.
Let's not forget.
Yeah.
One game of an NFL season is a lot. Out of what is it, 17? That's a lot. And Joe Mixon had one game that I would say was the Joe Mixon game. You remember that one where he was
The
just left and right?
5-touchdown game?
Yeah.
No, I think his game against Buffalo was more impressive. I think the postseason game was amazing. But let me just say something, John. Even if we had Derrick Henry from 2 years ago when he was in his prime, like, that is the only guy maybe you would pay $12 million. $12 million a year for a running back is not heard of anymore. You don't do that, and you only pay that kind of money to a running back who is going to significantly change your offense. And Joe Mixon, he's a very good runner. He's very athletic. He has a very unique kind of body type, which is like he's very long, but he's very strong.
Long and strong.
But like John and Joe Goodberry, our good friend, and others have pointed out, he just doesn't fit with a modern passing offense, which is what the Bengals have been and want to become even more. You have three of the best receivers in the game. You have the best quarterback in NFL history, right? And now you have an emerging offensive line. You want to throw the ball. And you have a coach. You have all of those things.
No, but I think Joe Mixon is fine to keep on the team, to throw the ball to like 60 times a year, because he's shown to be a capable receiver. He's just getting paid a lot of money to do that, right? And like I know the cap space is not necessarily a huge issue right now, but you also have to look at it from a value perspective. Like, you're committing $20 million to this guy over the next 2 years in a situation where you need as much cash on hand as possible to pay Burrow and Higgins, and those deals are coming up, and the more space that you have, the better you can. But also, you can replicate the same rushing production from Joe Mixon with either Travion Williams, a rookie, two rookies. Like, that's just the nature of what the running back position is now, and that's why, like, you don't see those contracts anymore.
I mean, John, you talked about he's good at catching the ball, but we've seen him. People pointed out he's never there on the key plays. We had Samaje Perine in there.
Well, I hope that whoever they get, if they get someone to replace Joe Mixon, whoever they get, will be good enough that we can finally, on 4th and 1, just have someone run straight up the middle instead of doing those silly, little tosses and weird stuff. I'm sick of that.
Well, that's the thing. That's why I showed that clip of our guy Orlando Brown in the run game, where you can see he can move people, John. He can move, which is crazy considering number 57.
Yeah, he was running fast.
Yeah,
number 10.
He was running fast. Yeah, very quick. And the thing is, John, he's got power.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like a tractor. He's like a tractor out there.
Yeah.
And similar to a tractor, you can throw all the rocks and things that you want, and it's never going to get dented. That's what I love about him.
No, that's not true. You can break tractors.
It's true. You
He's never been near a farm.
Look, I want to get Bridget. I want to get your grade for the Orlando Brown signing while we're at it.
Everybody's gonna give the same grade that you.
Go.
I would go with B+.
Whoa.
Okay.
I'd go with B+.
What?
For the Orlando Brown signing?
You don't think A+?
Yeah.
I'd go go B plus. An A is like superb.
Okay, fair. Is a Joe Burrow. Fine.
Yeah, that is a Joe Burrow. That is a Jamar Chase.
Okay.
I'd go B plus. I was excited. I was excited that the Bengals did something innovative and were the vanguard in a offensive line or a tackle position deal. Like that's what I think that's what as fans we all want to see anyways, right? Is them to not just play from the back of the pack, but to play from the front. So I'd give it a B plus. I'm also interested in talking about what is it, Irv Smith?
Yes, I love this Irv Smith signing.
Yeah.
John,
Irv Smith.
this guy. I mean, when
needed
I first saw the clips of him, I was like, which guy am I supposed to be looking at? That's a receiver, right? That's a wide receiver. He is built like a wide receiver, but he can block. John.
He's got the tight end. Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
it's maybe a little too tight. You want a little cushion in there, John.
No.
Right?
cushion how?
No,
Like,
it's walnut cracking tight.
oh, he can crack
Huh,
ass.
I mean,
No, he's a good player. He's just been injured a lot in the past 2
Yeah.
years, which is why he's not getting paid that much. But the Bengals have a formula now. If you are a tight end and your market's not
Yeah.
very good for whatever reason, why don't you just
Yeah.
catch 60 balls from Joe Burrow and see what your market is next year? And
That's true.
I think they wanted more of a long-term solution to the position, which is why they brought in Foster Moreau before he was diagnosed with cancer out of the blue. But Irv Smith, for only being 24 or 25 years old and having experience as a multifaceted tight end, I think that's fine to just go into the draft with a starter in place. But you're not really, unfortunately, you can't count on him to play 17 games because he hasn't done that in like 2 to 3 years. So they still get answers there.
John, here's the thing I like about Irv Smith is he has integrity, and I'll tell you what I mean. Look, I liked Hayden Hurst. I really did. I thought he was he did a great job, and I liked that it was a redemption arc for him. But he said, I finally found a home in Cincinnati. Remember, he was so happy, and then he leaves, first thing, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with CJ Uzomah. He's
Yes, it
like,
was an
oh,
RV.
Bengals, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. I love the team, rah, this and that. And then he leaves.
Daddy-o,
Irv Smith
you
has not
love
left. I will
He loves
not
loyalty.
like him next year.
You love the Bengals until the Steelers offer you $10 million.
Hold on. The Steelers. So you're saying for this show, they want the number one, the Steelers show for $10 million. Are you questioning if I would take it or not?
He thinks it's real, and now he's going to change the name of the show.
Yes,
You have to be
I-
careful. He's not. He doesn't
Okay,
think in
I
hypotheticals.
think that's all we have for this episode.
No,
Exactly.
The
I
One
told you.
Bengals podcast.
Yeah.
Exactly. You
He
can
would-
love
he'd
something
s-
very much
you
and want to
can-
create generational wealth for your family. Like we're all chasing the almighty dollar.
You
I
can
don't
buy
hold
Daddy
that.
for $10. He's not. you
That's
have to
true.
go up
The
to even a million.
Steelers are going to pay $10.
Speaking of
for Daddy.
$10, we had some patrons that are gone now. And it is because
yeah,
we
they're gone
weren't
'cause
doing
we
the
haven't had
show.
a show.
It turns out they want the show. They want the show. They don't just want to
Well, that's why
support
they were
us.
patroning you.
It's yeah. And I thought they loved us, but they just
So since
I
we're
don't want
running
to
out
say
of
they're
time-
using us.
So,
Yeah.
So we're running out of time. You want us to give our grades?
Yes. Let's just do free agency as a whole. Let's just
Well,
do free
no,
agency as
I
a
want
whole.
to talk about
because,
Orlando
yeah.
Brown.
Okay,
You said-
Orlando
yeah.
Brown. Go.
Well, you have to ask me.
Yes.
Koji?
What is your grade?
Okay.
Koji?
I would give the Orlando Brown signing an NC-17 rating or grade. And here's why. He's going to be so good, it's going to be inappropriate for children. 17 games long. And then it's going to even be better.
I like it.
That is pretty good. John, I don't think you can top that, John.
I'll give it a B. I gave Orlando
what?
Brown an A. Yeah, I mean, it just fits who he is as a player. Again, the typically when you sign a player of that high caliber, you typically have to overpay. But they just found a perfect market for him, and they found the perfect deal for him. Everything else, like Nick Scott, that was a good signing. I think Irv Smith and
Very good
Anthony
signing.
Jones
Yeah.
were pretty good signings too. Like the important thing to remember here is that they were going to downgrade in talent in one or two areas, and it just happened to be safety, right? Because Dax Hill and Nick Scott, that's a fine duo. It's still downgrading as of now compared to Jesse Bates and Von Bell, but that's the reality that you face when you have two albatrosses of contracts on the horizon in Joe Burrow and T. Higgins. Now, whether or not they get something done with T. Higgins remains to be seen, but they're planning for that. Right now, it's not a matter of if the Bengals can keep all these players around Burrow. It is about, like, how much can they sustain this level of talent while keeping this main trio of players. Like, that's in their plan, and I think they addressed it fine. Like, they maintained a solid level of talent entering the draft with the knowledge that they have to pay these guys.
Yeah,
Joe
I love
Burrow
it.
contract prediction. Joe.
Well,
A lot of years, a lot of money.
yeah.
more than a $10
For
million
Orlando
offer.
Brown,
Yeah,
No, how about this? Let's do a yes or no prediction. Will Joe Burrow's contract be the biggest sports contract in sports history for all sports?
Lionel
No.
Messi got like $700 million, so no.
Okay, no. In
American,
America.
real
In America.
sports.
I'm not talking
Yeah.
about I'm not talking about the weird ones.
just the real sports.
Just the most popular
hell-
sport in the rest of the world.
Basketball,
But
football,
Joe Burrow
basketball.
might not be the most highly paid Cincinnati sports athlete in history. Joey Votto got $500 million in 10 years, which might be, if the Bengals had their way, that might be the contract that they want him to sign. But I don't think he's going to sign for that long.
Really? You think?
You think Joe
No,
Burrow's gonna
that was
sign for
250
Patrick
million.
Mahomes, man?
Sorry. No, I messed up. That was 250 million that Votto signed for.
I was
My
going
bad.
to say, John. Yeah.
That's okay. Memory is hard. Yeah.
Yeah, the Bengals would absolutely
okay.
love Burrow
This
to
is
sign
what-
for 10 years. 100%. Because then they
Why
wouldn't
not?
be able to
I'm
renegotiate.
saying-
Leave us. Would he
Yeah,
ever
but
leave
that's
us, John?
insulting
What
to
did
pay
you
him as much as Patrick Mahomes. That's
say?
insulting.
Yeah, that's insulting.
Patrick Mahomes got 400,
He has to be
450
paid
million.
more.
He got 450 million.
So he
50
should
million
get
dollars is a
okay.
lot
He
of
gets
money.
50 million. I guess that could work. Look, here's
I
my
say
my
pick-
grade.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say my prediction for the Orlando Brown signing, which is
Great.
that I think it's going to end up as a disaster.
Oh,
And
tell us more.
I do.
why? Well, don't be a Debbie Downer, man.
Well, I mean, look, the guy, like John said, he gets beat with the quick feet, and he can't move, he can't bend. All he can do, according to John, and in official opinion of Atos Sports, is he just stand there and pushes people. But if the people decide, if they figure out that they can walk around him, they would walk around him. But he's very large, and
big
he
gumball machine.
yes.
At the moment.
And I giving the grade an A plus.
Wait a
That is what I'm predicting. Yeah.
Wait, hold on. You said disaster, but then you went A plus, which would imply, and it's
Yeah.
mind-boggling, really, that your opinion and what you said were two different things. I mean, I don't get
Right.
How is that the disaster in April?
Well, yes. So when you have a natural disaster, what happens? People rally together, they raise money, and they restore your faith in humanity. Orlando Brown is going to be the guy who
Some
picks
people
up the
die
Bengals.
first.
John, please.
Yeah.
Orlando
He's
Brown.
working it.
Orlando Brown is going to be the guy who's going to pick up Bengals and Bengals fans after 2 straight years of winning the Super Bowl but not getting recognized for winning the Super Bowl. He is going to pick them back up. He's going to get them back on the track.
Yes.
And I think, look, here's the thing. He is the only physically imposing, relatively speaking, a specimen on the team. You know, you have Alex Kappa, you have Ted Karras, who are very gritty, ice,
Brontosaurus.
glass-eating people. But he is the guy who's like, whoa. And he's the guy,
blue
I wish you
whale.
remember, yes. And so having him elevates the athleticism of the whole team. Now we have a, what's his name? Myles Garrett. We have TJ Watt. These guys that Jonah struggled against in the AFC North, he's gonna bully them. He's gonna knock
He's
them around.
so
That's gonna
big-
elevate
he's
the
so
whole
big that
offensive
he will
line.
just pull them into his gravitational pool. He will just,
Yes.
they will try to escape, but they will be sucked in because he's so
He's not a glass eater, man. He's a diamond eater. I don't think there's a substance on earth that he can't consume
There
with
we
his
go.
teeth.
I like it. I like
No, it's
that,
funny.
John.
It's funny
I like
how
it.
team allegiances really shape your opinion. Yesterday, I hated the Orlando Brown. Today, I love thee. It's odd, really.
He's actually a cool kid. I mean, John, you remember Marvin Lewis wanted him. You remember that? And people
do.
thought he didn't know about
Well, Marvin
anything.
Lewis coached his dad.
His dad. Yeah. His dad, by the way, very
Marvin,
sad.
By the way, guys,
Yeah.
big news in Bengalsville. Marvin Lewis has a Twitter account. He did not have one the whole time he was a Bengals coach. By the way,
Yeah. Now it's
I
a
know. I check all the
Dogecoin.
time. Yeah.
Now it's a Doggy Coin
Coin.
account, right, John? Yeah.
I
Okay.
think that's all we have today.
Well, listen, don't forget to go to patreon.com/DH Sports
We're
so you
back.
can
That's
support
the important
support
thing.
John,
It's- we're
support
back.
Bridget. Yes. And
we are back is the main thing.
yeah.
Just like
Support Daddy as he goes
And-
through these trying times in court.
And subscribe, leave a 5-star review. And we'll see you next time. So long. Sweetie. Bye.
Shout out Max Sharpie.
Yeah.
No one's ever said that before.
It's a show for everybody.